5 Western legends who refused to back down. The choice of the stand. They say a man's character isn't formed in the easy miles of the trail, but in those final few feet where there's nowhere left to run. We've all seen the gunfights, the flashes of chrome, the .38 second reflex, the theatrical tumble into the dust, but those are just mechanics. What we're looking for today is the soul of the West. We're looking at the stand. A stand is different. It's a deliberate choice. It's the moments a Wrangler looks at the odds, sees the ghost of his own mortality, and decides that his code is worth more than his breathing. Today we're riding with 5 icons, men like the Duke, Randolph Scott, and Clint Eastwood. We're going to peel back the leather and the grit to see the human condition at its most raw. We're exploring the sacrifice, the psychological breakdown, and the weary dignity of the men who stood their ground when the world told them to kneel. If you ever felt like you were at the end of your own trail, these stories are for you. The Father's Final Breath, John Wayne, The Cowboys. Let's talk about the Duke in 1972. John Wayne was the code personified for generations, but in The Cowboys, he did something revolutionary. He let us see the cracks in the armor. He plays Will Anderson, a man who has lost his own sons and is forced to hire schoolboys to drive his herd. He isn't a superhero here. He's a tired rancher with a bad back who just wants to do a job. When Asa Watts' sniveling psychopath, played by Bruce Dern, corners him, it isn't a duel, it's an execution of an era. But look at Wayne's performance. He doesn't beg, he doesn't even look surprised. He takes a stand because those boys are watching. He knows that if he shows fear, he kills the men he just spent months building. Every blow he takes from Dern is a lesson in stoicism. He's telling those kids, and us, that you can break a man's body, but you can't touch his justification if he refuses to give it to you. This is the ultimate sacrifice. It's the Duke's way of saying that the West isn't about who's left standing. It's about how you went down. It's heartbreaking, it's brutal, and it's arguably the most famous moment of his late career, because it was so hauntingly real. The Practical Ghost, Audie Murphy. No name on the bullet. Now we shift from the heart to the hand. Audie Murphy is the name that commands a different kind of respect on this channel. He wasn't a product of a studio acting coach. He was a product of the front lines of World War II. In No Name on the Bullet, he brings that cold, combat reality to the character of John Gant. Gant is a hitman, a dangerous man, who doesn't need to yell to be heard. His final stand in the street isn't about glory. It's about the practical professionalism of death. There's a specific kind of grit in Murphy's eyes here. He knows he's the villain in the town's eyes, but in his own mind, he's the only one being honest. While the respectable citizens are hiding behind curtains, Murphy is standing in the sun. This stand is a masterclass in economy. No fanning, no wasted words. It's just the human condition, stripped down to a single, violent reflex. We stay glued to the screen, not because we're rooting for him, but because we're mesmerized by a man who has completely accepted his fate. He's a Wrangler, who has finished his work and is simply waiting for the bill to come due. The Monster in the Rain. Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven. Then there's The Shadow. Clint Eastwood's Bill Money is perhaps the most complex psychopath to ever wear a holster. He spent the whole movie trying to convince himself and his children that he ain't like that no more. He wanted the peace of the farm, the quiet of a man who has forgotten the smell of gun smoke. But when the world takes Ned Logan, his only link to his humanity, the farm dies, and the ghost returns. When Money walks into that saloon in the pouring rain, He isn't the hero come to save the day. He's the personification of every bad choice he's ever made. He takes his stand in the middle of that room, surrounded by lawmen who are terrified of him, and he doesn't use speed, he uses certainty. He's justified by his own grief. This stand is the most important 10 minutes in modern Western history, because it forces us to look at what we're actually cheering for. We want him to kill them, but we hate what it does to his soul. It's a stand taken in the dark, for the dark, and Eastwood's performance is a chilling reminder that some trails never really end. They just wait for the rain to start falling. The Stone Face of Justice. Randolph Scott, Ride Lonesome. You can't talk about a stand without talking about the quiet professional. Randolph Scott, in the renowned westerns, Scott perfected the role of the man who carried a secret like a lead weight. In Ride Lonesome, Ben Brigade is a man who has been living for a decade just to reach a single hanging tree. His stand isn't against a crowd. It's against the temptation to let go of his code. Scott's stone face hides a world of pain. When the final confrontation happens, it's not about the flash of the draw. It's about the gravity of the moment. He's a Wrangler who has finally cornered his destiny. There is a dignity in Scott's silence that makes Wayne's bravado and Eastwood's darkness seem loud by comparison. He stands there, silhouetted against the Sierras, and you realize that he's already dead in every way that matters. He's just waiting for his body to catch up to his heart. It's a stand of pure, unadulterated grit that reminds us that sometimes the hardest thing to do is simply to finish what you started.
Słyszałeś?
The exhausted icon, Gregory Peck, the gunfighter. We close our ride with Gregory Peck. If there was ever a movie that explored the 0.38 second myth and the toll it takes on a man's soul, it's The Gunfighter. Jimmy Ringo is a man who is famous for all the wrong reasons. He's the fastest, the deadliest, the legend, and he is absolutely, bone-wearingly tired of it. His final stand isn't a heroic choice. It's a trap set by the very myth he created. He wants to go home to his wife and son, to put down the belt, to be a human being instead of a target. But the world won't let a legend retire. When the end comes in that dusty street, it's senseless. It's a kid looking for a reputation, firing a bullet that Peck's character almost welcomes. It's the most tragic stand on our list, because it's the only one where the hero didn't want to fight. He just wanted to exist. Peck plays the exhaustion so perfectly that you feel the miles in your own feet. It's a stand that proves the code can sometimes be a prison, and the only way out is a permanent one. The trail ends. So what have we learned from these 5 men? That a stand isn't about the gun, or the speed, or even the victory. It's about the human condition, finding its limit. It's about the Duke's love, Scott's silence, and Eastwood's vengeance. These icons showed us that while the trail might be long and full of dust, how you handle those final few steps is what defines you. Which of these stands resonates with your own code? Do you see yourself in the sacrifice of the father, or the weary resignation of the gunfighter? Let's talk about the grit, the glory, and the ghosts in the comments below. I'll be there, waiting by the fire. Until next time, keep your powder dry and your justification clear. Wrangler out.
Tough, gunny. Just wait.
the channel for westerns and more.